Hello, you are welcome to New Focused Approach to Mathematics Basics 7. This is revised edition, and in this video we want to look at rounding up numbers to the nearest 100,000, to the 10,000s, thousands, hundreds, and tens. This time around we are focusing on just rounding off numbers, so it can go down or go up, but then it must always go up on condition and it must come down on conditions. So let's go ahead and look at a few examples. Now, the first question here says that round of 5,793,678 to the nearest 10. And because we are dealing with nearest 10, our focus is on the 10. Remember, we said 10 says 10, 20, 30. When we talk about nearest 10, we are talking about either it is closer to 10 or 20 or 30. It means our last digit will mention as 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, or 90. Okay, when it's to the nearest 10, that's where we go to. And so our 10 will be on 78. Now, the 78, we ask ourselves the number before the 7, which is the 8. Is it below 5 or 5 and above? If it is 5 and above, we round off. We add 1 to the immediate 10th digit. If it is below, like 74, then we maintain the 7th digit or the 7th digit, and we keep here to be 0. But because this one is 8 and above, this number cannot be written as 5,793,680. So to the nearest 10, we'll call it 5,793,680. Again, if this question had come as 74 here, we would have written our answer as 5,793,670. This is how we could have called our answer. So take note of that. Okay, let's take another one in terms of the same to the nearest 10. An aircraft covered a total distance of 641,095 kilometers. We want to find the total distance to the nearest 10 kilometers. And again, our 10th now remains here. Okay, you have to be very careful with this one. Now, either we call it 90 or we call it the next number. And actually, the next number will enter into 100. If not, we could have said 641,090. But because the 5 digits here, or the 5, is 5 and above, we run off. And so this answer will now be called 641,100. 641,100. Now this is the reason, because we should have just said 095, but because 1 is adding up to this to make it 10, it will give us 0 here, 0 here, then there'll be remainder 1 which must also go up here to add up, so that the answer becomes 641,100 as the nearest 10. Now let's look at it in terms of 100, nearest 100. Now the question here is round off 7,321,444 Ghana cedis. I wish this happened to be in my account today. I'll be big man. Okay, that's very huge number, right? Very huge amount of money. 7 million Ghana cedis is big. Okay, so we want to run this number to the nearest 100. And the nearest 100 here, we are focusing on this number. This is where we see the 100, right? So this number will be called 444. 444. 400. So we are going to run this number to the nearest 100. And we know our hundreds goes like this: 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. So which of these hundreds is this number close to? And you can see that this number is, if I draw a number line like this, and I have 400 here, and I have 500 here, in between should have been 450, right? So the number 48 will be somewhere here. or the number 448 will be somewhere here, which is more closer to 400 than to 500. And so to have this number run off to the nearest 100 will be called 7,321,400. So this is how we run this number to the nearest 100. So it will be 400. It won't be 500, it will be 400. 7,321,400. Good. Now let's look at it in terms of thousands and 10,000s. Okay, this number we are going to run it to the nearest 1,000 first. Then we go to the nearest 10,000. This is 96,345,397. Now to the nearest 1,000 means our concentration is going to be on the 1,000 digit here, and the 1,000 digit here is 5,397. 5,397, and that 5,397 lies between 5,000 here and then 6,000. So the question is, the 397 is close to more of 5,000 than to 6,000. So this must run down. So our answer for the first will give us 96,345,000. So it's going to be 345,000. Okay, so then we have it this way. So to the nearest 1,000 is going to be 96,345,000, because this number 397 is not up to 500, and so it can be run off. So we get our answer this way. Then to do it to the nearest 10,000, okay, to the nearest 10,000, we are now going to consider it in terms of 10,000 start from here. So it is 45,397. So we are going to call this one 96,345,000 plus. But then because we're talking about 10,000, it's 45,397. So in terms of 1,000 should have been either 40,000, okay, 50,000, 60,000. So is this 45,000 here and 397 closer to 40,000 or 50,000? That's the question. So is this one closer to 40,000 or 50,000? You can say that it is more of 50,000 than 40,000, because the number here, which is the 5,000, is 5,000 and above. So this answer becomes 96,350,000. 96,350,000 becomes our answer. Right. Okay. Now let's do the last one in terms of 100,000. They said express this number 1,786,543 to the nearest 100,000. And our 100,000 start from here. See our 100,000. So we call this number, this part of the number, as 786,000. So that's where we see our number. But then to the nearest 100,000, you see that 786 is closer to 800,000 than 700,000. So this answer becomes 1,800,000. So this is how it's going to be. 1,800,000 becomes the answer. I'm sure this video really has given you more understanding to this concept. Thanks so much for choosing Focus Mathematics. Stay blessed.